All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Unger. Today we are going to talk about not derailing your day. And we're going to take a little snippet out of my larger program on time management and focus on single tasking, how to focus, and a daily routine. So very quickly, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Paul. I am a recovering attorney from Columbus, Ohio, which is right here. When I'm not teaching, speaking, coaching, or writing reports, I can usually be found running or playing fetch with my almost 2-year-old German Shepherd Amenadiel. My passion is teaching lawyers how to use technology and how to automate their practices using a variety of software tools. I have one book out that is very relevant to the topic today called Tame the Digital Chaos. So all the content that we covered today is taken out of this particular course, as well as CLE program that I do for various bar associations and the book. That brings us to today. I am a geek here to talk to you about not derailing your day and how we stay focused. So listen, 2020 was it was just a disaster for so many reasons. We're all ready for it to be over. We are COVID exhausted. We don't want to hear about it anymore. The homeschooling, unfortunately, it's still with us. With the news, with social media, the 24-hour news network. So, listen, I'm not going to focus on COVID, but we'll say that our ability to focus was clearly affected, and probably a lot of the same challenges that we have, that we've always had with focusing, was just magnified with COVID, as is true with many other events that make our life hectic. Definitely major magnification, but suffice to say that we're going to focus on the same tools that we always have focused on, but it applies whether we're in the middle of a pandemic or afterwards. So these are going to be great, I think, methodologies and tips that will help you focus during the course of your day, really at any time. We are bombarded by the equivalent of 174 newspapers of data per day. That is, some people call this infomania, information overload. We've called it many different things over many years. The bottom line is we are bombarded with tons of information, and to read, to digest, to organize. On top of that, with that comes the interruptions that we get. So as legal professionals, we're interrupted on average every 2 to 3 minutes. The average business professional gets interrupted, non-legal gets interrupted every 5 to 6 minutes. So we live in a hair on fire world. There's no question about it. Probably not changing anytime soon. So the key there is that we have a methodology to deal with all of that incoming information and figure out how we balance being responsive on one hand, and on another hand, getting our work done, right? So we have to, it's just a juggling act. We have to figure out a way to do it. It's much easier to do when you have a methodology in place, instead of, sitting in the middle of your room and, the tornado is spinning and we're getting hit from 4 different directions. Very difficult to operate in that type of environment. So we have external interruptions, but we also have internal interruptions. And I would argue that many days, your own internal interruptions are probably more problematic and toxic than the external interruptions. It's really easy to get mad at other people and get frustrated with other people, but we have to give credit where credit is due, and sometimes that's really our own brain. Let me demonstrate. Let me clarify what I'm talking about. 21. This represents the number of times the average American worker checks Facebook during the course of the day. 21 times. I've actually thought it was a little higher. 74. The number of times, if I put a screen recorder on your computer and went back and counted how many times you switch over to email, okay, the average legal professional checks email 74 times in a single day. Okay, so you just have it, I call them email curiosity breaks. We're going to come back to that one. That is a killer of productivity. 80. This represents the number of times we check our smartphones during the course of the day, right? And I've seen this number as high as 125, depending on the age group of the participants being studied. 564. This represents the number of times we switch tasks on our computer during the course of the day. This is huge. I mean, I fell off my chair when I saw this. This is, the significant part about this is every time we switch tasks, our brain uses a special type of glucose, and we are depleting it in epic amounts, and it leaves us in the shallow work as opposed to the deep work. Unfortunately, in our world as legal professionals, the deep work is typically the billable work, and the shallow work tends to be instant messaging, emails, telephone calls, many of which are billable as well, but many of which are not. So, and we cannot ignore the billable work and the deep work, the writing, the analysis, and so forth. So, we have to balance it. We have to balance that, okay, am I going to allow this interruption versus the deep level work? And you can't neglect one or the other. So on that topic, I want to talk about task switching, because now, we call it multitasking. I'll probably call it multitasking in this, but the reality is the human brain is incapable of multitasking. We task switch. Some of us, some very lucky people in this group are probably 1% to 2%. I've seen as low as a fraction of 1%, depending on the study, are what we call super taskers. Super taskers are people who can task switch better than the rest of us. I'm in the rest of us group. I stink at it, and it's very distracting to me. It does take me a very long time to get back focused after following whether it's an electronic interruption or anything else. The average, according to most studies today, is 23 minutes. This represents the number of time, the number of minutes it takes us to return back to a task that we were performing following an electronic-based interruption. Now, this used to be 15 minutes for decades, and now it's 23. So the problem's getting worse. It's not getting any better. Whether we are rewiring our brains, we don't know. Okay, but what's clear is it's not getting any better. Now, there are some exceptions to this. When we're in the 11th hour mode, we have a deadline pending in front of us. We can get laser focused. Certainly in that situation, it doesn't take us 23 minutes. We shut the entire world out, kind of how our brain works, which is absolutely miraculous and amazing. I wish that we could all focus in the 11th hour mode all the time, right? And so we can get close to that. We really can, if we have a methodology in place to process all this information, and we have plans in place. Okay, so what's clear is there's a big problem with interruptions. Now let's talk about how we deal with them and how we can achieve focus, and maybe not the 11th hour mode all the time, but close to it. Okay, now, so what I want you to do now is get a fresh sheet of paper out and start an action items list. Write down anything that resonates with you, anything that you think, gosh, I want to do this. I want to, figure out a way to implement this in my life. All right, so start an action items list off to the side on a fresh piece of paper. First methodology, single task. Okay, it's not enough to say I need to stop multitasking. You have to proactively practice single tasking, like you practice your golf swing, like you practice piano, like you practice anything that you want to become proficient in. You have to practice single tasking. Now, the best way, I want to give you some tools to work with. And this is one tool. It will work for many of you. It may not work for some of you, but it works for most people. It's called the Pomodoro Technique. And the Pomodoro Technique is basically this. There's a whole book on it. I'm going to distill this down to 1 minute. You single task for 25 seconds, and then you take, or 25 minutes. 25 seconds is way too little. 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break. 25 minutes on single task, 5-minute break. Now, you have to do some prep for this. So you clear your desk, Okay, you minimize what's on your other monitors, and you focus on just that particular task for 25 minutes. Now, you can adjust it. In fact, I do. I used to do 25 minutes. Now I do closer to an hour. And there are a couple reasons for that, which I'll explain in a bit. But you could go 45 minutes and a 5-minute break, 45 minutes and a 10-minute break. You can go an hour. Some people in my office go an hour and 15, 20 minutes, and then they take a 10-minute break. That's all fine. The Pomodoro science tells us that after 25 minutes, the average person, their human brain starts to get tired. And then we start to stray. We start, whether we get a little frustrated or we lose a little focus. Okay. We all have different attention spans. So you adjust it. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Now, I do recommend you buy the tomato timer on Amazon. This cost me $4.99. I keep it on my desk, and it's a constant reminder of a fantastic technique. When I get overwhelmed, I think, where do I start? And you just take a deep breath. You write down your priorities, your top 10 priorities, and you Pomodoro as a verb. You Pomodoro. Okay, and what's nice about this is it's a great technique to fight procrastination, and you'll see when you could do anything for 25 minutes. So even that task that you have been avoiding at all costs, right? You're like, oh, I just procrastinate. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You could do it for 25 minutes. You can endure the pain for 25 minutes. And then the beauty is, once you start, you've got momentum and you don't want to stop. Okay, so it's a fantastic technique called the Pomodoro Technique. Now, there are other devices, timers. This is called Gravity. They're hourglasses. This hourglass is 30 minutes, and then the smaller one that we see there is 5 minutes. So give that a try if you like that. This one I think costs 25 bucks. I bought mine on Amazon, and they're a little prettier and handsome, so it looks nice on your desk. This is a tickless tomato timer. So I didn't tell you the tomato timer itself ticks, and it'll drive you mad. The one that I have up on the screen is tickless. It's silent, and you can set it for longer than 25 minutes. So a little heavier in price, 30 bucks, but it's out there and you can give that a try. This one is fantastic. This is related to Pomodoro. It's called Music to Code by Carl Franklin. He's a musician. He's also a computer programmer, and they have to get in the zone to concentrate. And it's hard. It's like with us, it's like writer's block. It's the thing that we, procrastinate or we can't focus on, so we do other stuff, right? Computer programmers are kind of the same way, but times 10. So to get into the zone, right, he would listen to classical music, but not all classical music. He would listen to Baroque, but not all Baroque, right? So then he got bored with Baroque, and what did he do? He made his own music, and it's called Music to Code by. It's gone viral. It's fantastic. You could buy it. I think this one's 20 bucks, if I'm not mistaken. You could try it out for free. I keep it right on my desktop, and it's the tomato timer. It is their 25-minute music segment. So what I tend to do is do 2 of them, and then I take my break. So roughly about an hour. So this is a form of a timer, and the music is it's very low key, repetitious, not like a lot of high pitches, low pitches. So some people, I'll tell you again, this is another tool in the toolbox. Some people say this was like a tranquilizer to me and it put me to sleep, right? So everybody's brain is different. So give it a try. If the tool works, use it. If it doesn't, throw it out. But another form of the tomato timer and the Pomodoro technique. Again, back to the original point, we're single tasking, okay? We single task, we focus. Part of that also means, I think a really important part is time blocking on your calendar, basically treating this as an appointment with yourself. Okay, so it's an appointment with myself to work on the Jones appellate brief. Okay, and so it's blocked off, and that sends to the world, the rest of the people in your office, that is do not disturb time. I'm working on this. I'm trying to single task, and you need to respect other people in the office who are trying to do the same thing. So now you can't, block off your whole day every day, right? So you have to be reasonable about it. We all operate as a team. So there's some days you could do that where you have a huge deadline coming up in 2 days, and we do that. We do that from time to time, and that's perfectly reasonable. That's acceptable. But generally, we're biting off 2-hour chunks, and we're leaving time on our calendar to be accessible to our team and the other people in our organization. The key here again, though, is single task, and then what do we do during that 5 minutes, that break? You calm, you quiet the chaos. Okay, you quiet the chaos. So you get up, take some deep breaths, get a glass of water. Some people meditate. You could do whatever you do. Don't do email, and don't jump out on social media. Okay, you're going to get sucked into some debate on gun control, which we need. Okay, but not during the business day. Not while you're trying to finish that Jones brief. So quiet the chaos. 25 minutes or whatever that magical number is for you, and then 5 minutes off. Go for a little walk without your smartphone, okay? Liberating experience. Or meditate, or mindfulness. Mindfulness is a form of meditation. If you don't know how to do that and you're very curious about it, as I was many years ago, I bought an app. And the one I use is called Headspace. It's the first icon, the big orange dot there. You could try them out all for free. They're basically guided meditation, and they're absolutely wonderful. So, and I'll share with you a little bit of science behind this on the mindfulness part. Part of mindfulness and a lot of meditation techniques is deep breathing. When we engage in deep breathing, it actually calms the part of our brain that produces the hormones that fight or fight syndrome. Okay, so when we do the deep breathing exercises, there's science that backs this up. It's not just some, oh, deep breathe and touchy feeling. There's science behind it. It calms our body, and it releases the creativity in our minds and our prefrontal cortex. It allows us to focus. It allows us to think. Okay, when we're suffering from anxiety, when we're freaked out, when we're stressed out, okay, that it uses the same part of the brain that our brain utilizes for thinking and analysis. And guess which one wins, right? When anxiety and that doesn't work, anxiety always wins. So deep breathing, there's science behind it. It really does help. Now, next, I want to share with you a new technique that I started about a month ago, and I've been holding off on telling anybody about it because I want to see, number one, is it doable? So I've been beta testing it. Let me tell you, I love it. It all stemmed from my desire to stop drinking caffeine, per my doctor, and drink more water. So I got a water bottle, right? This one, and I found that I was trying to consume whatever amount of water, right? I found I was ignoring it during the course of the day, and then I would drink all my water from pretty much 7 to 10 o'clock at night. Not all, but most, and that's just a terrible idea if you value your sleep. So I discovered this app called Water Reminder, and guess what? It's available for an Android device. We see that on the right here. You can get on the Google Play Store or on the Apple Store. I think they're two different makers, but they're called exactly the same thing, and they do exactly the same thing. So I set a reminder basically for every hour. And every hour, it reminds me to drink the water. And I found, well, that works. It's really nice. It's easy enough to do. But I thought, you know what? There's other things that I want to do on that hour that can really help my day. And this is the routine. You could replace it with anything that you want, but I'll share with you the methodology and the technology here, and then you fill in the blank for what you want to do. So the first one, the notification goes off. What do? Number one, I stop and I enter my billable time. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm terrible at entering time. I grew up in the personal injury world. I never had to enter my time. It's just been a struggle. This is so easy. It makes it so easy. The buzzer goes off. I enter my time. It takes 30 seconds, right? And I'm all caught up. And it's a wonderful relief, just a relief. And it feels like a monkey is off my back. So you know what? I'm on top of it. Right? And then when you get behind, like, oh, I haven't entered it, and it stresses you out. So it clears your brain, allows you to focus. Okay. Again, maybe entering your time isn't a big deal, but some other thing that you could do in 30 seconds or 60 seconds is. Number two, stretch or exercise. Now, what I do is I do like some push-ups, or I have these wimpy little dumbbells over here, and I'll do like some easy, like I call them sissy squats, or some sit-ups, or I just stretch, right? Again, 30 seconds, 60 seconds at the most. But it gets me out of my chair. It's good for your body. It clears your head, right? And it's easy to do, and it gets that blood flowing. Number three, so there's three things, okay? Kind of the rule of three. I do three things. It takes me a whopping probably 2 or 3 minutes at the most. And it's all at the top of the hour. Number three, I drink my 8 ounces of water. I do that at the end because I don't want to drink water and then do sit-ups, right? So that's it, right? So enter my time, do a little exercise, drink my water, get back to the task. And it also coordinates, it correlates very well with the Pomodoro Technique, because I do 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And so at the top of the hour, I can't work all the time. You can't always do it exactly at that time, but you do it as much as you can. All right, next tip, stop operating from email. Stop operating. Email is not your daily roadmap, okay? Email is not your daily roadmap. You know as well as I do that you can maximize your email at the beginning of the day, and you can stay in your email all day long and send and receive emails all day long, never ending, okay? It's what I call the black hole, the email black hole. You can't do that. You can't do that. You know, I know many of you have 2 monitors, right? And on one monitor, you're doing mental gymnastics and writing a brief. On another monitor, you've got Outlook maximized all day. Over half of the people I poll in these type of webinars or seminars has Outlook maximized on one monitor most of the day. So this is a raise your right hand and repeat after me moment. Just because I have 2 monitors doesn't mean I have to have anything on it. Minimize that other monitor. Minimize Outlook in particular. You're doing mental gymnastics on one screen, and on another screen, you've got bomb, fire, fire, bomb landing in your inbox. How can you concentrate? That's like placing yourself in a nursery full of screaming kids while you're trying to write a brief. It's terrible, okay? Minimize it, and instead you're going to check email at more deliberate times. Now, you may have noticed that Microsoft, if you are a Microsoft 365 license holder, and you're using Microsoft 365, you will notice that you started getting a report about, it was about a year ago, called My Analytics. Very fascinating, a lot of useless stuff. There's some really good stuff in here. Take a look at this one. This is one of the reports, and they present it in a really nice, digestible way. It's called Distracted by Email. Take a look. During working hours, you read over half of your emails within 30 minutes of receiving them, right? Obviously, it will tell you what you're doing, right? This was sent to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not following my own rules. I'm not checking email 74 times a day, but that is telling me I am checking email way too many times during the course of the day. We need to be more deliberate about when we check email. It can't be 74. Now, everybody's going to be different, and every day is different for everybody, but we call this batch processing email. So a way to stay focused, right, is to minimize that email and concentrate on the work that you have in front of you. The only thing that should be on your screen is something that's relevant to what you're working on. And then you decide, I'm going to check email 5 times a day. Okay, you look at your calendar, you decide these are the times and these are the durations. This is just an example. Today is different than tomorrow, okay? And for you, it might be 10 times. For some of you, it might be 3 times. Everybody's different, and every day is different for everybody. Now, what you do during the batch processing is a topic of another webinar, right? I call it the 4 Ds, and following the 3-minute rule, where you try to touch the email one time, and when you touch it, you're going to either delete, do, delegate, delay. Now, we go into great detail on how to do this and the tools needed. Primarily, good email document management system like a NetDocs or a WorldDocs, or even a practice management tool will help with this. But we go into this in pretty good detail, in a lot of detail in other seminars. Okay, but the key is we're not checking email 74 times a day. Instead, we're checking it more deliberate times. Now, we want to have a real roadmap. Email and your calendar is not a real roadmap. What's a real roadmap? Well, first of all, we know also that less than 15% of us, and when I poll people in these type of webinars, less than 15% have a real roadmap, right? What that means is that 85% or more of us glance at our calendar, okay, look at their email, and that's their plan for the day. That is a terrible plan. So what's a good plan? A good plan is something like this. This is, and I've got a couple of them. There's the Best Self Journal, which I used to use. There's Panda. There's another one called Focus. There's Covey. I have one as well. Um, this is what it looks like. Okay, it's paper-based, and we keep it next to our keyboard because it's our roadmap. It's not minimized, it's always present. That's why I like the paper for this. But we basically are identifying 3 to 4 things that we want to get done that day. And that becomes, those are kind of high level things that we want to get done that day. And then over on the right, we time block our day in 30-minute increments. So we create a contract with ourselves, blocking off. So you're looking at your calendar, you're looking at your to-do list, you're looking at your email, and you come up with a contract with yourself. So when you have the urge to check email 74 times a day, when you start doom scrolling on social media, okay, when you, whatever your poison might be, okay, you get distracted, okay, you look at this like, nope, I've got to stay on task. And let me tell you something, out of every technique that I teach, this is probably always on the top 3 of people telling me what works. This is magical. This will change your life. I don't mean to be dramatic here, but it absolutely will. And it's so easy to do. So whether it's My Planner, Covey, Panda, Best Self, you find the one that fits your brain in the way that you think, in the format that you like, and you do it. We're going to send you some blank pages, okay, like this one. And so you could print it, just a PDF, and you could print out, 10 copies, give it a try. If you like it, go out to Amazon and find one that you like and run with it. That becomes your daily plan. Absolutely magical. Okay, I can't say enough about it. All right, next and finally, the body, the mind loves routine, right? So this is a great example of a routine. This is kind of my day on most days when I am in the office, which is all the time now, right now during the pandemic. The big part of this is, for me, is this morning chunk where people in my office, they know to do their best, can't always do it, to not schedule any client meetings during the hours of 7 to 10. And during that time, I call my admin time, but that's when I do business development. I do, whatever my partner duties are, my administrative, any committees that I belong to, basically a lot of the non-billable work. Now, 3 hours is a large chunk of time. For many of you, you can only do 1 hour, and that's fine. But treat it as sacred time, but make the time to do that business development, make the time to do that administrative work, and then the rest of the time is your client billable time. And then you just schedule those out. Now, I love the idea of a morning routine. And what I do during that, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or whatever it might be, is I use an app on my phone or I usually use my iPad. On an Android device, you could use an app called Chore Checklist or Habetica. On an iPhone, you could use an app called Checklist Again or Simple Checklist. And here's how it works. You create a routine. So you can see here, these are the things that I try to do during that period of time. I reach out to my partners. I send birthday wishes out. I actually eat breakfast at my desk. I reach out to my leadership team. If I'm going to a city, I reach out to a client in that city and say, hey, do you want to get together for lunch or for coffee? So each day, as you get those done, those are checked off over here. And then the next day you come in and you hit this button down here and it resets, it clears all of the checks, and then you're ready. So it's a repeating checklist. I love the idea of the app. If you have a tablet, It's a great way to use your tablet on your desk, again, to keep you focused. And you can create all sorts of checklists for this. All right, so listen, it is 1:30. I want to wrap up with a couple announcements. First, update your action items list. So take 5 minutes and write down your action items that came out of this seminar. And here's what I want you to do. You execute on them one per week. Get really good at one and then work on the next one. It doesn't matter. Don't think of the long game. You think, oh, well, it's going to take me 2 months to get all this stuff done. It doesn't matter. If you're doing 80% of the things that you want to do in 2 months, you are far better than the position that you are right now. So there are a couple upcoming CLE programs I want to tell you about. There is the main bar. If you like this content, there's the Columbus Bar Association. I've got a program for the Ottawa Legal Society coming up next month, Illinois State Bar, the Milwaukee Bar, not State Bar. And so there are different programs. Some are 1 hour, some are 4 hours. Also, check out my book. I'm very excited to learn that it shipped out Friday, and I'm supposed to receive them on Wednesday. So we don't have this up on our bookstore yet, but it will be later this week. We'll send you a special email with the link to the store. You could go to pauljyunger.com next week or next month or whenever, and you can get to our bookstore there, and you can order the book there as well. I want to thank all of you for attending today. If you would like to schedule a 30-minute free consultation, reach out to Karen in my office. Her email address is on the screen. You could also reach out to me at p.unger@affinityconsulting.com if you have any questions or any stories you want to share. And also check out pauljyunger.com. You can download extra materials from other seminars. Many of you know I do a tips and tricks seminar, and I do seminars on cybersecurity and PowerPoint. So I do post my materials out there for you to enjoy and to update if you've attended any of my other seminars. So thank you all very much for attending today, and good luck with staying focused.